Nintendo is not horsing around, and you were warned. Many Switch 2 owners were warned about what would happen if they attempted to play or access any unauthorized software or games from the Switch 2. They were warned that Nintendo has the ability to essentially brick your console or ban your account, which in most cases will render your Switch 2 useless. If you think about it, uh, once you're banned from accessing the Nintendo's online service or their online ecosystem, you can no longer download games. You can no longer access the eShop. You can no longer do anything that involves the internet or your online account, anything of that nature. The only thing that you can do effectively once you're banned is play your games offline. And should you try and factory reset your console, then you're truly screwed because then you really can't do anything with the $400 piece of plastic and metal that you purchased, 450 actually. And a lot of people are coming to this conclusion and they're learning this the hard way. But Nintendo warned you, and you in fact did sign an agreement when you initially set up your Switch. And a lot of people are realizing this as they've attempted to use the MiG Switch 2 on their Switch 2 consoles. Nintendo must have somehow gotten their hands on a MiG Switch 2, and using their R&D team, they probably figured out a way to detect if someone is in fact using a MiG Switch 2. And so, or the MiG Switch card. And this is a big deal. This is a big deal because I think a lot of the tech community figured, you know what, we'll find a way to hack the system. They probably figured that they would outsmart the network. They probably figured that they would find a way to get around this. And to this point, no one has. Now, granted, the Switch 2 is about a week and change old. We just got it. So I'm sure that those who are more technically sound and technically savvy, they probably just need a few more weeks or months to tamper with it to figure out a way around this banning or bricking measure that Nintendo is taking to ensure that you can only play authorized software or authorized games on their hardware. So someone's going to work on this. However, for all of those in the tech community, if you don't think Nintendo is putting millions of dollars behind ensuring that no one is able to hack their system, you're sorely mistaken. You best believe that Nintendo is hiring some of the best hackers, some of the best coders. They are doing everything that they can to ensure that this this system of measure to ensure that only authorized software is played on their hardware. You better believe that they're going to make considerable investments in making sure that this sticks, because the future of their business model depends on being able to protect their IP and ensure that no one can hack their consoles. That is how they're going to be making their money, by through their online service. So them banning you from any type of online activity is really important. It's more important than I think people realize. And the other interesting thing about this is, if you think about it, right now, from what we've seen, the only games that come completely on the cartridge are Nintendo, Nintendo games, like licensed Nintendo games, first party games. Those are the only games that are coming complete on a cart. So if you are banned from anything online from Nintendo and you're only able to play games offline, well, guess what? The only games you'll be able to play offline with the Switch 2 are more than likely going to be first party Switch 2 games, which is going to suck if you are a person who enjoys playing third party games. So if for games like Cyberpunk and Street Fighter 6 and some of these other games that require the key card, guess what? The key card is now rendered useless. You can't use it because if you're banned and you can't connect to their online service, you're toast. I mean, you're going to be stuck playing Mario Kart World until Donkey Kong Bonanza comes out, and you're just going to be waiting for first party games to come out. And this is what you officially call a chokehold on the game. No pun intended. Nintendo is not horsing around. And I could understand why people would want to utilize something like a MiG Switch 2, especially if you already have the games that you're trying to, download to a MiG Switch and put onto your Switch 2. It's really just the ease of use. It's the same principle with something like this. This is one of those kind of emulation type of cartridges that, or not really emulation, but there's a bunch of ROMs on this cartridge, right? There's a bunch of Super Nintendo ROMs on here. There's about 120 Super Nintendo games on this cart. And even though I have probably 60 to 70% of the games on this cart physically in their original format, if I'm going to have a Super Nintendo gaming day, I'm not necessarily going to want to keep switching out cartridges and taking this cartridge off the cabinet and switching it out. No, if I know that I'm going to be playing Super Nintendo for most of the day, I'm going to bust this card out and just start playing some Earthbound or start playing some Turtles in Time, right? Because it's just so much easier playing these games on this cartridge and not having to worry about swapping out the carts. And that's really the same principle with the MiG switch, right? The reason why people use a MiG switch is because they don't want to have to carry around a bunch of cartridges. And perhaps maybe they also don't necessarily want to take up all this space on their Switch by having to download all of these games directly to their Switch or to the memory card inside their Switch, and then kind of have all that space taken up. So what's another measure? Well, you have a MiG switch cart, which is basically the 2025 version of this type of cart here. The only difference is that if I put this cart into my Super Nintendo, there is zero that Nintendo can do about it because my Super Nintendo is untethered. It is not connected to a network that's being monitored every millisecond. My Super Nintendo is not under the watchful eye of Nintendo. It is a retro console that is completely separated. It is completely mine. The hardware is mine, and I can do with it what I please, including playing a 20-in-1 cart that has over 100 different Super Nintendo ROMs on here. And again, this is just, it reminds me every time I see stories like this, it reminds me why I love retro so much. Because I promise you, as time goes on, these things are going to get more and more strict. The technology is going to become even more and more sophisticated. And if you don't think they're watching you, you better believe that they are. So my advice to everyone with a Switch 2, play by the rules, honor the agreement that you signed, right? And only play the games that you have purchased. Or if you get a key card from someone, play those games. But the days of horsing around with your console are done, because the new model for video games is online. They are pushing you online. They are making you more and more dependent on the internet. And this just goes to show you, right, that the second you start to horse around, they can remotely shut you down. And that just feels scary, that someone can reach into my console that's in my house and extract usability. It's just scary. Now, I know what some people are going to say. They're going to say, well, don't try to steal games or don't do anything illegal and you won't have this problem. Don't, XYZ. And that's true. That is true. You shouldn't be trying to steal things. You shouldn't be trying to pirate software. You shouldn't be trying to play games illegally. But we know how strong the emulation community is, right? And we also know that there's a camp that says, well, I've already paid for these games. These are games that I've already purchased and downloaded. I'm just dumping them onto a cart that enables me to keep them all in one spot so I don't have to carry all the cartridges around. Well, guess what? Nintendo doesn't care about your comfortability. They don't care if you don't want to carry around a bunch of cartridges. You better carry those cartridges around with you. Either that or your console is going to get bricked. So I'm very interested to know what you guys think about this. I thought that this was pretty funny, actually. And I'm just glad that I'm glad that I've waited, because I have a feeling that throughout the rest of this year, we're going to continue to see more and more updates and just more and more of the nuances of this new console, which is really ushering in this new generation of online dependence. And yes, whereas online dependence felt more optional in the past, to me, this seems like a situation where you're really dependent on the internet. You need these servers. And if you don't play by the rules, you're toast. And it's just an interesting dynamic. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe another company has done this and has done it at this level before. Maybe Sony has bricked consoles in the past. I don't know. If you guys have any reference of it being this serious in the past, let me know. But this just kind of feels a little bit like a first to me, even if it's just for Nintendo. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video. So Y2K Collector, take it easy.